Here's a reenactment of my first time watching the Smile 2 trailer.
She's gonna off herself in front of the audience, isn't she?
Look at the comments too. A lot of other people thought it as well. And this was just when the first trailer came out. Well, that's exactly what happens. The demon was toying with her the entire time. It makes her get on stage in front of all of her poor little fans, and she offs herself and spreads trauma onto them. I'm not a guy who normally predicts endings to movies, so when I actually got this perfectly right from the first trailer, I was like, huh. But maybe the predictability is actually good. I mean, horror movies and just so many movies in general are filled with twists, and I think audiences expect them a lot of times these days. I watched some of the Saw movies before this, and those movies are literally just expected to have some weird, crazy twist at the end. So there's usually a twist. The killer will be revealed. The creature will end up being alive somehow at the end, even though you think they beat it, or the main character will do something crazy to kill the monster. That's just a common thing in horror movies. So with Smile 2, I actually think you can defend how predictable the ending is on paper, because the movie itself does such an interesting job of trying to get you to just not think that that's actually gonna happen. Maybe she'll actually kill the monster. Ha ha. So the director knew that we would be maybe thinking, how is he gonna subvert us? What's gonna be this shock ending? Just like Sky, we're kind of latched on to this hope that maybe she'll actually get out or something else will happen. It's like us as the audience is also being dragged along by the monster with Sky, and it makes us go, well, I saw the first movie and the girl, it was a fake out the entire time and she died, so it's like, that's not gonna happen again, right?
It happened again!
Nope, then she dies. She dies in front of the crowd, like a lot of people thought was gonna happen. It's actually kind of genius though in a way, because an example that comes to mind is late Game of Thrones, which was always trying to be so subversive and surprising that it just kind of was dumb and did a disservice to all the writing and great character development that came before it. So Smile 2 is kind of like, here it is. You thought this was gonna happen, it was the likely outcome, there you go. I mean, the monster has the power to control minds, so it's like OP as shit. Can I swear? Can I swear in the first minute of videos? I don't know how YouTube works. This does lead me though into, I hate to do it, criticism. There's enough of that on the internet. It's critique that I don't think is from a negative place in my mind. This ending is the exact same as the first movie. Let's be real. The demon leads them on this journey where they think they can overcome their struggles, and they kill it, and it's like, just to be revealed that it was trolling the entire time, and it really is that mean. Then it makes them off themselves in front of someone, and they pass it along, and the cycle continues on. Sure, in Smile 2, I think the assumption with that ending is that, oh, she did it in front of all these people, and the implications that she spread it to a ton of people that time, so that means the same thing happened just on a bigger scale, and that's why it's cool, but it's still the same thing. It's the exact same thing. That's not to say that Smile 2 is the exact same movie overall and that it doesn't justify its existence, because I think it definitely does. Like right from the rip, the sequel really seemed to understand that the movie needed to adapt its presentation based on the protagonist who was being haunted by the demon. Like Joel, the cop from the first movie who kind of goes down the rabbit hole with the other main character, Rose. She takes the lead right at the beginning of Smile 2, and I think it's done in a very interesting way. The monster is coming for him, but just the way the film is presented really shows how resistant Joel actually is to it and how much more capable he is of fighting back. With Joel, you get this smooth one-shot sequence with a very wide view, which is much different from Rose or Sky. And this sort of fluidity and movement with his perspective shows that he really isn't frozen by the fear of what's happening, and he just knows he has a mission and he's moving on. I mean, damn, he literally walks by the burning hallucination of Rose and he just doesn't even acknowledge it. Like, he is a baller. Plus, I think it said he survived like 5 days, which is more than most people. So he was at the end of his time and he was still just like chugging along. Dude was a badass. This presentation was much different than Rose's perspective and Sky's in the second movie, because with them, the whole movie's shot in very claustrophobic, static ways of up close in people's faces, obviously focusing on the mouths and their smiles, and they feel very trapped. You don't get a good sense of where things are in the environment because it's usually dark or there's just a scary door behind them. And it's so much different with Joel. And I think it just is a cool way to highlight different perspectives of those who are being hunted. Just an aside, but I think the movie Killing Joel was bullshit. I wasn't opposed to it at first because it made sense since he was the last link from the first movie that had all the information and could just very easily plot dump or exposition dump on Sky and just give her all the answers for the sequel. And I was like, that's kind of lame. So I understood the movie being like, oh, he's dead. You don't get anything, Sky. But then they just bring the doctor guy, Dr. Morris, I believe his name is. He just serves that role anyway. So I'm kind of like, why didn't they just leave Joel alive? He gets killed by a car too, and there's multiple things about car accidents in this movie. For some reason, my mind was like, is there a parallel there between that? And I don't think there actually is. It's just coincidence. Maybe it's just me, but I was kind of like, why'd they make him die that way? But anyway. So after Joel dies, then we get to Sky, who gets the demon monster from the other guy, whatever. And though her experience is definitely similar to Rose's, it's, let's say, more curated in a way that reflects her status as a mega pop star with addiction issues. The monster very actively tries to make her break down in a way that is more manic, like she's in a drug-fueled breakdown. For example, the stage rant where she's at the philanthropy thing, breaking her dressing room, and everyone's like, why did you destroy your dressing room? She thinks it's the other guy. Doing choreography with her dancers, and she thinks she breaks her leg, and she's like, and snaps at them. And then there's more, but her history of trauma is definitely rooted in her drug addiction and her mania and how people see that. The monster does a very interesting job of trying to reflect that more in its torment. Her character, though fictional, is definitely a real parallel to many celebrities who have suffered with drug issues and have spiraled in public. The demon is definitely an interesting depiction of drug abuse and addiction. Rose from the first movie, I think her trauma is used against her more in an inward way. It makes her, let's say, more sleep deprived and depressed and paranoid. Wait, is that A-Train? Anyway, she doesn't have the same outburst that Sky has because the monster knows that that's not the right narrative or presentation for her to have. Rose's trauma is a representation of her past and her mother's mental illness and how it affected her. I think that's more of a direct parallel to the actual monster itself because it uses its trauma to keep spreading to other people and reflects that idea of hurt people hurt people. And that's better shown in Rose's story, I think. While Sky's story is more of the struggle of spiraling in front of millions of people, drug abuse, questioning who your true friends are and if your family has your back, wondering what success really means, those sort of specific struggles that someone in that position would have. So even if the endings are pretty similar and they both get tricked to die, they each warrant their own existence and they have an interesting presentation of their specific distinct characters. They give different explorations, I think, of certain types of trauma and how they manifest within people. But do the endings encapsulate what came before in an interesting and revealing way? Are they just surprising and interesting in general? The first movie, for sure, because we still didn't know the extent of the monster's abilities. So seeing that it could truly alter Rose's entire perception and make her believe that she had won and escaped, all just to pull the rug out from under her, was really scary at the time and shocking. With the second one, it does the exact same way, and I don't think it really adds much because to those who had seen the first movie, we already know that's exactly what it could do. So it just essentially, all we got was, oh, it did the thing it could do. It raises interesting questions for the future for me because sometimes with movies, when you reach a point where you question if anything is real, it can hurt the experience because I think sometimes it takes away the stakes, and when you question the character's autonomy and power to control their own story in the movie, there's sort of just a detachment of like, oh, if they can't do anything, then I just guess I don't care that much. So that's what I worry about specifically for the future of the series, I guess. There's also just a very sad undertone to the message of both movies ending the same way. They're both essentially saying that, oh, your trauma that you're suffering from is going to eat you alive and you can do nothing about it. You're screwed. Good luck. And they did that twice. So it's like, damn, that's kind of sad. That's pretty somber. Like, a part of me was thinking the sequel maybe going a bit more of a lighter direction. Like, again, like I've been saying, I assumed she was going to get on stage and maybe off herself, but I thought the movie was going to trick it by maybe making it so that somehow Skye exposes the monster to everyone in the audience, and maybe they can all see it or something, and she kills it in front of them. Flipping the message on its head and saying, if you confront your trauma or maybe bring it to light, that you can beat it. That's purely fan fiction. I'm not saying that's necessarily better or anything. That's just where my mind was at. There's aspects of the second movie's ending that I think just hinder the experience a little bit, and I think a lot of it has to do with the whole good chunk of the ending just being fake. First, I would say, is the reveal that her friend Gemma was fake the whole time. So Gemma was apparently Skye's best friend before they had a falling out, likely due to Skye's drug addiction. It's implied that Skye said nasty things to her. Don't really know the context, but Skye probably bad in the situation. And then in Smile 2, Skye hits up Gemma and is essentially like, I need your help, I'm tweaking, come here. And then Skye shows up and she's just like, yes, bitch, I'm back, I forgive you, let's be besties. Obviously, within the context of the end of the movie and everything, it's revealed that she's fake the entire time. So essentially, this Gemma was never real. It was just a performance by this monster. But I felt like the writing of the character was almost so superficial that I never really got much out of her and her relationship to Skye. Like, what was their friendship actually like? What was their deeper connection that they had, that Skye could have with her instead of other people, since she's a celebrity? So she already has issues knowing, like I was saying, who her real friends are. So why was Gemma? Fuck you. What are you? We bring the boom, baby. Why are you stopping? My camera was like super off center too. What the fuck is happening? My other mic kind of broke, so I'm back. I'm solo live mic. We're trying it out. Anyway, the movie doesn't really bother to establish the complexity of their relationship besides Gemma just kind of being there and being like, yes. It's a shame a little bit that I think the movie didn't go deeper, because the reveal being that she was fake and that Skye was never able to reconcile with her estranged friend is actually pretty damn sad and powerful. Not having more context onto the reality of the relationship lessened the impact of the reveal that she was fake the entire time. I think you could also say, of course the demon's gonna have a superficial presentation of her. It's not real. You could even say maybe this is more of a reflection of Skye's character and her faults, such as her ego and maybe delusion, to think that she would have just been able to get her friend back after all she did, and the demon's kind of toying with that idea. There's also the scene where Skye kills her mom in the hospital, which is fake too. So the mom in that scene goes full momager mode and is essentially like, I care about the business side and I don't care how you're feeling, fuck her. After revealing that it's fake, it got me thinking, like, was the mom actually like that? Or was this more a reflection of Skye's insecurities about how her mother actually feels about their relationship? Just questioning if her mom actually loves her. So I think it brings up an interesting conversation. The scene is good, but the movie I don't think gives you quite enough to really know the true answer to that. Maybe not that you need one, but just a thought. The ending also raises the question of, like, why did the monster decide to do this now? What are the rules?
What are the rules? What are the rules? What are the rules?
What are the rules here? Because there were multiple instances where it seemed like it could spread to a lot of people if it wanted to. The assumption was that it could only go one person at a time, so that's why I try to do one-on-ones with people. Now it's kind of just like, nah. So that switch up is just out of nowhere. I don't know. What are the rules?
What are the rules?
Like I mentioned earlier, there's also the plot line of the doctor who does this exposition dump on Skye, which I think is so lame, and if you're gonna do that, it should have just been Joel from the first movie. You could maybe argue that the doctor was never real, but that wouldn't make sense, because why would the demon exposition dump on itself to Skye, sorry. Maybe just to give Skye hope. I don't know. So yeah, after saying all this, I really don't have a concrete answer actually on whether I think the ending's too predictable or not. It's definitely predictable, but too predictable is the subjective part, I would say. It works in the ways that it's almost subversive
that it isn't subversive, and it's true to the natural conclusion of the plot and story.
For me, mostly, I think the weaknesses with the Smile 2 ending result as of how it modifies the sequences that came before it, retconning the reality of what they presented in those. I think the movie's actually very good overall, so I want this to be a positive video. Mostly, it's just a discussion. Thank you so much for watching this video. I know it wasn't the most cohesive thing ever, but I think it's just a fun little discussion to have. And again, please comment literally anything. It'd be really awesome. And if you enjoyed, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Any support really means a lot to me, and I probably will be posting more frequently soon, so stay tuned for that. Thanks so much.